Hey, Cindy. Russ and Joey will be on probably any minute now. Sorry for the delay. Where is everyone tuning in from today? What all states do we have here? Chelsea, Alaska. That's awesome. Mississippi, Southern California, Fort Worth, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma City, Texas, Wisconsin. Ooh, Wisconsin, but in Florida. Smart move there. Montana, Massachusetts, Madrid. That's awesome. Rogersville, Alabama. Got people all over the place. South Carolina. Daniel, what time is it in Madrid right now? Portland, Oregon.
Texas, Utah. Bring it. Love it. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you or hear you or speak to you. I guess I don't get to see or hear you officially, but thank you for jumping on. The Stallion is coming, I assume. Gabe, are you watching to see if we need to let him in the room? I guess is
Yeah, I'm watching.
He may join from another thing here. All right, we got a lot of people joining us here. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Jared, for being on. Thank you, Brian, Cam, Chad, Charlie, Cheryl, Chris, Clint, Cindy, Daniel. Thank you, Demetrius, Drew, Dylan. Great to see some names I recognize. Eddie. I'm assuming that's Jeremy, Jacob, Jeff, Jim, Justin. Man, I feel pleasured, Stallion. Got so many friends in the room.
Man,
Kevin, Kip, Mark Gucci.
The Gooch?
Wow. The Gooch is here.
The Gooch is here.
The Matthews, Melissa, Mike, welcome. Nate, Paul, Rob, Russ. What a great name. What a great name. You've already become my favorite person on this call. And I've never even met you. Nobody else take offense to that. Everybody who knows me realizes how selfish I am. Yeah. Seth, Todd, welcome. Troy, Walter, William, grateful to have you on. Thank you for joining us. Really excited to share some content with you today. Joey and I have been pondering on this. What's the best way to share this information with the world? So today's gonna you kind of get a first take of it. We will ultimately probably redo this a little bit for everyone who isn't on here live, but there is benefits, there is privileges to being on here live. Gabe, is it okay if everybody who's on here gets a free bonus item at the end?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, perfect. All right, I got a free bonus item for everybody today that joined us live. So I love it when people take action. All right, Stallion, are you going to be our running point here?
I mean, at the risk of potentially screwing this up, I'll take the fall because we know you won't. It's all good. Let me share my screen here.
Oh, you're going to screw it up, and I'm going to give you grief about it. All of those will happen, but
let me see if I should hold on. I'm gonna try something first. I'm gonna try to
only
start
because
the
I don't think
PowerPoint.
I could find how to do this on my computer. My computer's not being great with me today.
Just be great, computer. Just be great. All right, hold on. Yeah. Pull this over here. Okay, I think I got it. I'm gonna go screen 2 here. All right. Is that showing up for everybody? Everybody give me a thumbs up that you see Financial Tesla on your screen. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Cool. I just want to make sure we were on the same page. All right.
All right, Gabe, you ready?
Right.
All right, Joey, we're teaching on how to build a financial Tesla. That was a specific thought we had when we were coming up with this presentation, because I feel like a Tesla is something that is very unique. It's not everybody has it, right? But it is that item. I think when you see riding down the road, you have an intuition of what's going on, right? Because you've read enough about those now. You may even know someone who owns one. What's special, Joey, about a Tesla? Because neither one of us, by the way, own a Tesla.
Yeah. It can do 2 things at once, or you can do 2 things at once when you're in the vehicle. Let's say that it will take you from point A to point B, and you can do fill in the blank, whatever the second thing is, whether it's do some work, catch up on emails, whatever. It's got the autonomous driving feature. So it allows you to do both
for
things.
Everybody, and this is side note, this is like for those who are just watching, it's like, for everybody who doesn't know, like when I'm driving, that is my time to think. That's when everything's happening. But I also have to be driving because I'm just too hands-on. I will not, allow others to drive me around. It freaks me out. I just have to. Now, Joey, his wife is like me. She won't let Joey drive. So when Joey's in the car with his family, Joey's over there, he's doing work because he's not driving. But
it's practically like being a Tesla. It is. It's just a minivan.
Tesla literally gives you the ability to do 2 things at once. And today's concept, I think, pulls that out. And as we say down here, kind of the subtitle of this presentation is how to build and accelerate passive income and the vehicle that you can use to do it. All right. So Joey, we say this all the time. The number one obstacle keeping you from becoming financially free is what?
It's access to cash, or the lack thereof.
Well, but why? Why is not having access to cash such a big roadblock for most people?
Well, I think it has to do with, let's bring back the Tesla, right? When you don't have access to cash, you don't see opportunities. And what does RES stand for, Russ?
That's the reticular activating system. And many of you have probably bought a car. So maybe it wasn't a Tesla like this one. Maybe it was, I remember for me, it was just a Toyota Tundra. And I got a Toyota Tundra because I thought it was unique. I wanted to be different. I didn't want to be the guy driving the GMC, the Chevy, or the Ford, the Dodge, because you see those everywhere here in Alabama, right? Everybody has a truck and it's one of those brands. And so I went and got the Tundra because I'm like, rednecks don't want to deal with Toyota. So I'm going to be unique. So I get my Toyota Tundra. I start riding down the road. And the first thing I see everywhere around me is what?
Toyota
Put it in the
Tundras.
chat. Toyota Tundras everywhere. And not only just Toyota Tundras, but gray Toyota Tundras, just like the one that I was driving. So I was not so unique. Well, this reticular activating system that's in our brain is basically this little bitty feature that's filtering out all of useless information our brain doesn't deem important for us, because if it took in all the millions of pieces of content that was coming at it within a daily basis, we'd overheat way too quickly, right?
Overwhelmed.
So it just simplifies. Here's the things that you say is important. So Stallion, when I start thinking about becoming financially free, and I start thinking about financial freedom in light of passive income and all the stuff that we talk about on our podcast, I start telling my brain constantly, this is what's important to it, right?
That's right.
So the reticular activating system for us, when you have access to cash, now that gets accelerated, right? I mean, sometimes see opportunities, but I'm gonna promise you, I miss them. Like, just like I see fancy cars like this or other things that I may be interested in, but I miss lots of them on the road because really I don't have the ability to take action. When you have access to cash, it provides you the ability to take action. And what does that also do for you, Joey?
Well, it puts you on the fast pass line. Who's been to Disney World and seen that Joker? I know Russ has, because he was that guy. He was a guy that didn't just have the fast pass. He had the VIP. What do they call it, Russ?
It's the VIP pass. Yeah.
The VIP pass. And so he was the guy that was lapping you in the line for what's the ride that you did this on? Or
Space Mountain.
It was all of
I mean,
it. So Space Mountain. You're
Joey
lapping
won't
the
even
guy.
go to Disney because he's got so many kids. He doesn't want to stand in line for that long.
That's right. Exactly. And so what does the financial Tesla, what does this one strategy that all of our clients use to get to financial freedom as fast as possible do? It allows you to see the opportunities that are all around us, right? You start getting focused in on it. You get access to cash, and that puts you in this position to get there as fast as possible. Now, I learned this because I was the guy who was stuck working in this corporate ladder job. And it woke up to me one time. This is my daughter, Adler. Years ago, I was driving her to school, which was not a normal thing, because normally I was working too much in the morning to ever take her. But this time, so she just has all the words in the world because Dad's in the car with her. I mean, you guys have kids, you know what I'm talking about. The amazing amount of words that come out of this small body. And she says, "Dad, you gonna pick me up today?" And I said, "No, baby, you know Mom's gonna have to pick you up." She said, why are you not gonna pick me up?" I said, "Well, because I have to go to work." And she says, "Oh, why do you have to go to work?" I said, "Well, I have to pay for this car, I have to pay for our house, like the food that you eat." She says, "Well, we already have a car. We already have a house." And just in her most totally simplistic way, it wasn't about the fact that she was questioning why I had to work in the sense of the money that it created. It was the thing that kind of resonated with me was I said, I have to go to work. And what happened in my brain at that time was I had to never say that again to her. I had to be in a position to be committed to the outcome that I had created enough passive income that if she wanted me to pick her up from school this afternoon, I was going to make that a priority instead of having to go to work. We're going to give you an opportunity at the end of this. Like, if you resonate with this story, if you resonate with the idea that being out of control and that, you're not the owner of your time, that someone else owns your time, we're going to give you an opportunity to commit the same way I did at the end of this and make the next step happen, that take action to be freed up to spend time with the people that are closest to you.
Well, here's the thing, Joe. I think that the typical financial planning model, and that's where I came from. I was a certified financial planner. The things that I was taught through all of my education, ultimately through my specific training when I was in the industry as an investment advisor, was based around the concept of I'm going to build up an amount of income or amount of assets, take my income, build up assets, and I'm going to follow this approach of the 4% rule. Now, I don't know if you recognize this individual that we put up here, but his name is Dr. Wade Pfau.
That's not you from before, Russ?
No, that's not me.
Okay, sorry.
I've never looked that good in glasses. The thing about Dr. Wade Pfau is that he is a doctor in retirement income. That is a thing. And what he did analysis on this concept that was built back in the early 90s called the 4% rule, which really diagrammed how much money would you have to save up into an account, and then what percentage of that money could you take out on an annual basis over 20 years and guarantee that would be at least $1 left. Well, this man traveled the world, like internationally known for all the simulations that he would do to verify this fact. Well, Joey, you and I interviewed Dr. Wade Pfau maybe 2 years ago on our podcast, and we were talking to him about this. And he said, there's a chink in the armor here, that the 4% rule, because of low interest rates, is actually making the 4% models not 100% accurate. He said at that time, it was closer to maybe 85 to 90% accurate, that you would have at least $1 left on it. Well, I read an article by him just recently in Barron's magazine, and what he said is that 4% is definitely gone. It's more like 3%. 3%. So let's do the math on that real quickly, Joey. If someone's sitting here and they're 40 years old and they're thinking, okay, I'm going to be financially free at age 65. Like that's what the world has told us, right? I'm going to be financially free at 65. Maybe I make 150,000 of income, and I'm a great steward. I'm saving 10%. So I'm saving 15,000. I've been doing this for a little bit. So I've got, say, $150,000 saved up. Joey, based upon what Wade Pfau says, how much money would I have to have in an account in order to pull off 3% a year to last me from 65 to 85?
Just shy of $5 million, right? Yeah.
All right. Well, based on Wall Street's record, if we took the last 100 years of Wall Street's returns and we said we keep saving $15,000 a year with $150,000 in an account with the goal to get to 5 million, at what age could I get there, Joe?
Not 65, just slightly after. 83 years old.
So based upon what you said a second ago, if I follow the concept of I don't want to have to go to work, right? With this is my benchmark, how am I going to be able to answer my daughters? How am I going to be able to show up for my family first, give them my best instead of my work my best? If the reality to me is I'm going to have to work until roughly I'm dead.
Well, what you're doing, Russ, by committing to this process that Wall Street's got for you, is you're saying I'm going to be able to tell my great grandchildren that I don't have to go to work. Not your children, your great grandchildren. And that's, you don't have a whole lot of energy left to do the things that she or he want to do with you at that time.
So by the way, as you're listening to this, if you want to do the math on that for yourself, you can go inside of our community, and that calculator actually exists right there on the menu bar, and you can put in your own numbers and just see what it says for you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Joey, you and I love this, because the screenshot here is something that comes from Robert Kiyosaki's book, The Cash Flow Quadrant. But we have a mentor, somebody that used to just give us nuggets all the time. And reading through and looking at this, it just made me think of the concept that when we're employees or we're business owners, whether it's self-employed or we run a business and a lot of other people are able to work for us, there's only two things at work in this diagram.
That's right.
It's people at work and money at work, right?
That's right. And Nelson talked about the fact that it takes two incomes just to make ends meet. Could it be that this modern family right now, as we speak, has no money at work? So this is another gaping problem that we're trying to solve, and what our clients are solving through this financial Tesla model that we're talking about today is that we have to get money at work. And that just that led Russ and I down the path over the last 12 to 13 years now to develop what we call the 3 steps to financial freedom through passive income. We wrote a book. It's coming out this summer. And it's the 3 steps, the GPS, the goal, the plan, and the support it takes to get there. We're not going to be able to cover all those today, but the financial Tesla is really right within the plan step, that P, and we're going to go deeper onto that today. You're welcome to go through our whole process within the community. There's all sorts of other courses you can take, but the plan is where we're going to focus on today.
All right. Well, let's talk about what kind of, again, I kind of, all this is leading to you. And I know you're like, man, you guys are really slow talkers. Many of you listen to us on our podcast at 1.5 or 2 speeds. And it's because of things like this today, is that we're trying to think through all of these fun stuff that's happened over time. But this is one of the things that all of this is for the so what of this, right? For us, everything that we're talking about, why this is so important to us, why do we have to fast pass it? Why do we have to have access to cash? Why is it so important that financial freedom be faster than the 3 or 4% rule, whatever the garbage number? And we all know they're going to change the goalpost on us at some point. It's going to change. Well, what is it though that we said, well, not for us? Like, we are going to find a different path. We're going to create financial freedom by creating passive income. And this is what our report card was for 2021. And you can go on our website. All this stuff is available to you. In 2021, using what we're teaching you today and what we're going to continue to give you access to, was able to help us create over $1 million in revenue. Now, paying expenses, right? None of this stuff comes without expenses, comes with labor, without effort. But we were able to create over $600,000, over $50,000 a month in passive income. And I'm super excited, right? This is a brag moment for Joey and I, because to be honest, for 2 kids who came from really nothing, we didn't come from a legacy minded family. We came from families who didn't have anything, very blue collar. If that is to create this, it says it's possible for anybody. If it's possible for us, it's possible for you. In order to do that, Joey, the number one strategy, right? The number one thing that you're able to do in order to become financially free is to create a process that allows you to get access to cash, that allows you to see opportunities as they come. And that is really called the infinite banking concept, right? The infinite banking concept. And I know you just a second ago just nonchalantly threw out Nelson. You just said his first name like it was Madonna or something, right? Not everybody knows Nelson the way you and I knew him.
That's right.
Most people are being introduced to that concept, the concept of becoming your own banker, for the first time. They didn't know Nelson Nash the way you and I were able to eat lunch with him over a 10-year period of time, the way you and I got to learn about what he had done for, since the 40s and 50s, and the way he taught us economics, the way he taught us to think about access to money. But you learned this from who?
My hero, Russ Morgan, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. He entered stage left with a book. He said, "Hey, Joey, I want you to read this book. It's for all the clients that I want to send your way, right? You need to understand how this works." And I was like, "Oh man, sure, no problem." And he said, "By the way, that's going to be $20. And I don't know about you, but you start to question somebody and their real success model if they're going to hit you with a $20 bill to read a book they asked you to read. I mean, that's pretty low budget, to be honest. But you know what? At the same time, Russ did know this about me, that I was cheap. And if I was going to come off of $20, I was going to read the book. And it worked, right? It actually did. And it started to reveal things that were wrong about the way I was viewing money. In fact, the first step was seeing that my money was already compartmentalized. You may or may not resonate with this, but I had a box for everything. I had a box for retirement, for my vacation savings, for investing money, college savings. That was the big one for me. That was actually right at the moment that he shared this book with me. I was in the process of talking through different ways I could start saving for my daughter's college. and it was a different bucket. So retained earnings, home equity, car repairs, all these things had their own space and they were all separated. But what I learned from Nelson's book and this concept was that in each one of those boxes, I either had no access to the cash or to the money, or I had a 0% return. And now, Russ, some people would say the investment box over there have a big X on it, like it's, the plague. But how I was viewing investments was really, if I had money in those places, call it my IRA or something else, I was really thinking of that as, if it went down in value, and maybe you can add some credibility to this from you having worked with so many clients in the past. If it went down in value, I was told, oh, just let it sit. It'll come back. But if it's going up, why would I ever sell? Was there ever an exit point for those investments? And did I even understand them to begin with? And I would say no.
Yeah, when we're talking about the fact that the number one obstacle to becoming financially free is what, Joey?
Access to cash.
Access to cash. Most people know that they need to keep money on the side so that they can, if you have rental property, for instance, there's going to be maintenance issues, there's going to be repairs, maybe big capital expenditures. Maybe there's going to be times where you're having to rent the place, or the person moves out and you have to start marketing for it. And there's a month or two between there, right? You got to have money off to the sideline. That in general. So where do you put it? You put it in checking accounts. You put it in places that earn zero, right? Gives you no access to it. And even though maybe you have some investments, maybe it's in mutual funds or stocks or whatever, cryptocurrency, but you're unlikely to ever use that money. Why? Because of the fear of missing out either on its gain or perceived gain. As an investment advisor, Joe, I can tell you, people never sold, ever. It didn't matter if it was 2006 and 2007 and the market was going up at 30, 40%. Yeah, that's exactly where we are today as we're recording this in 2021, right? Like we're seeing 2021, 2022, we see everything going up like a rocket. Nobody wants to sell, right? Because the fear of missing out on the perceived next step. But at the same time, in 2009, 2010, 2011, as the market was crashing, people wouldn't sell. Why do you not want to sell on the bottom of the roller coaster? Well, but if I sell now I have to realize the loss.
That's right.
I'm going to miss out on when it bounces back. I'm going to accept all of this loss. So regardless, they didn't do it. So the whole point to this is, how do we become financially free? Is when we have passive income that exceeds our monthly expenses. We have to know that we got to get our money accessible, but 0% is just not okay with me, Joey.
That's right.
I feel like there's 3 steps to this process to unlocking this concept of infinite banking. First, we got to identify where our cash is, right? Where are there opportunities that we can access money so that we can get it into the system? The second is we got to be able to design it based upon our stage of life. You might be one that's listening to this and you've never implemented this process. And it's like, okay, I got to get this set up for me and my wife or my husband. You may be where I've done this and maybe I need to set this up and start thinking stage 2 where I need to be setting this up for my kids. Or maybe it's third. It's like, man, I've got that taken care of, but I got to start staging this for my business investments, the businesses that I own, the key people in those businesses. But it really comes down to, Joey, integration. How do I integrate this whole process to where all of those things work seamlessly?
That's right. So we're going to break each one of these down. And we already kind of started to talk through the identify process, which was the viewing. At the time, I was viewing each one of those dollars having a separate function and being separated from each other. What I learned through the process of this, and Nelson's book talks about it very specifically, he says all of the world's money is like one big pool. And so you should view your money the same way. And that should no longer be all these separate individual boxes, but it's all one big pool that should be used together. Now, it also started to say, okay, well, if those things are all connected and the ultimate goal, as Russ just mentioned, was passive income that would exceed my monthly expenses. If that's really what financial freedom is, now I have to start thinking about each one of those buckets that I had in light of that goal, right? Which ones of those are either being used efficiently and getting me closer to financial freedom, and which ones are not being used efficiently that are actually keeping me from the goal that I had in mind. So let's take, for instance, the retirement bucket that I had, and I was already putting money towards my 401k. I was getting a match. Everybody tells you it's free money, right? And Russ says it's free slavery, right? That's no longer what you want to do. And so let's break this down. Let's say that you're 40 years old right now. You're wanting to be financially free in the next 5 years. Well, right out of the gate, and one of our coaches, JD, says the answer is immediately no, right? Immediately no, because every dollar that I put in my 401k, I am locking up until I'm 59 and a half. You don't have to talk about rates of return. You don't have to talk about investment profile, anything like that. All you have to look at these sheer numbers and say, this is going to force me to give up 14 and a half years that I don't want to give up. So can I continue to put money into that bucket or into that vehicle? The answer is immediately no, right? So I immediately could take that off of my list and say, those dollars are going to be redirected into a place that I can actually access and control. So then we break down the debt reduction box. This is just another one that was just easy for me to start to see differently. Well, if I have debt, and this is just a for instance of $100,000, and it cost me $1,000 a month, let's just say, and I was previously putting extra dollars towards this debt to try to pay it off faster. Let's just look at the report card. Okay. If this is the goal, this is the report card, passive income greater than monthly expenses. That's what I'm going to keep in front of me as the objective goal. Then let's talk about before. I have $100,000 debt. I have zero in passive income. I have $10,000 a month in monthly expenses. My result is I'm 0% of the way to financial freedom. This is just as I'm paying extra on that debt, right? Think about that. Do you have anything like that? Do you have a car? Do you have a house or anything else that you pay extra on that you think is getting you closer to your goal? This is what my goal was, and this is where I was at 0%. Well, after I paid the debt off, you think I must be better, right? Well, I had still zero in passive income. Why is that? Because all the extra dollars I was using to pay down debt was being to funnel to pay down the principal of this debt. So now my monthly expenses have dropped to $9,000. That seems positive, right? I no longer owe $10,000 a month. It's only $9,000. But what's my goal? It's passive income to exceed my monthly expenses. I'm still at ground zero. Can you imagine how disappointing it is to know that you've done all this hard work? By the way, paying extra on a debt is not easy. It's hard work, but it got me no closer to my goal. So you take these two things together and I say, this is how I start my system. This is how I start to fund over $2,000 a month. It grew to over $60,000 in the first year that I understood this concept, because I started to see all these things connected, and that the things I was doing with money wasn't getting me closer to financial freedom. So that's the first step, is creating that goal, identifying those cash flows that are not being used properly and not getting closer to that end goal. The next step is all about design. So what are we going to talk about here, Russ?
Well, I think ultimately, if you're considering what I can do with the money, right, Joey, there's lots of different options, right? I think that the place that we kind of mentioned a second ago, I think everybody tends to think of putting them when they have accessible dollars before they go invest. Because I think ultimately what you just said is that we've got to create passive income streams. Well, where do I put those dollars? How do I create dollars? And where is the money going to come from? It's got to come from some pool. Well, typically speaking, people use checking accounts to do that. Well, we don't use checking accounts, but most investors, most of the people who are listening to our podcast, who at some level are investing through real estate. And real estate is a beautiful asset. We all probably have dabbled in it to some degree, some more than others. What do we like about real estate? Well, we love the fact that it has appreciation, right? We love the fact that, you know, the equity can also grow within it. We love the fact that it creates cash flow on a monthly basis. Hopefully, if you buy it right, there's tax deductions if you don't, but also there could be tax deductions if you do it right. And also it can become a hedge against inflation. We've seen that as it relates to the market. The dollars being printed are growing. You know, I think they've said we've expanded the money supply by almost 30% over the last 18 months. Well, we've seen the housing market keep pace with that. That's something that the real estate market does. But we use a different vehicle for our cash. We use a different vehicle that's laid out in that book, Becoming Your Own Banker, which is dividend paying whole life insurance, something that most people know very little about. So we're going to give you some real basics over the top of it. But the reason why we like it, because it mirrors a lot like real estate. There's appreciation within the asset. We get access to this thing called cash value, which is similar to the equity in the house. We can touch that money instantaneously, usually at a cap of 5%, right? The cost to access that money. Well, when we people love to talk about taxes, but the thing I love is no taxes. I love the fact that these insurance contracts, the money that grows inside of it, Joey, regardless of how much is in it, right? I have a whole life policy. Last year, I put $1 in. The policy itself grew by over $2, right? Well, how much in taxes do I have to pay on that growth?
Zero.
I have zero, but I can access that money at a simple rate of 5% to do whatever I want to, which now I've got the hedge against inflation, because my death benefit and everything else associated with this not only is keeping pace with inflation, but in most situations is exceeding.
So as far as the design of this system, it starts with the right location, the right vehicle, which we're talking about with whole life insurance. And then the natural next question is, well, who is the person that needs to be insured? If this is an insurance deal, well, the first stage would be you and your spouse. Ideally, if the rest of your system depends on you or your spouse or both to fund that system, then it's important to insure against the risk of loss of that person's life, right? And then from there, people expand into their children. Well, isn't it kind of weird to insure your children? Well, only if you're thinking about it from the standpoint of what a death benefit creates, not in terms of the actual cash vehicle that we're talking about, this Tesla that's going to be able to do multiple jobs with your dollars at one time. You're going to want to give this as a gift to your children, because the natural question that people ask us is, why didn't I hear about this sooner? I wish I had started this 20 years ago, is the very common thing. So can you imagine, once you get this Tesla started for yourself, your children having that same situation 20 years prior and having it jump started by you? That's the kind of legacy I want to create for my family. The next and the final stage would be to start implementing it with business associates, very high level people within your business, key people, and even buy-sell agreements within business partnerships. And that's the third stage in which we would do this. Now, that begs the question though, Russ, how in the world does somebody start funding policies like this? What are some examples that you know?
Well, so there's 3 real ways to do this, and we'll just take you through some examples. We won't use last names. We'll just use first names, right? So we were talking to a guy named Mark the other day, and he was telling us that, man, when I started looking at this system, I knew that I had a process in place. The business that I'm an investor in, we created a formula for the next 7 years to kick off income. It was just going to basically be the bonus for each year of running this business. And he's like, now it wasn't 100% guaranteed, but it was 90%. And there's a lot of people that I've talked to over the years who they get a bonus check. Hopefully it's not like, you know, Chevy Chase and Christmas Vacation, right? The Jelly the Mud Club comes when you've been banking on that big check, right? But this guy, he's like, this is easy for me. I'm going to take this bonus amount and I'm going to use that amount every single year to fund this contract, right? To fund my system that I'm going to use then to invest out of, right? So for him, it was an annual amount, but there's other people who do it monthly.
Right. This reminds me of my friend Jamie. He came to me and he had already started policies for he and his wife. And he said, you know what, I want to expand to figure out a way to do this for my children. And as we started talking through the various different ideas, he said, well, I'm already putting aside money every single month for the maintenance and capital expenditures on my rental properties. He already had, a handful of rental properties at the time. And he said, why couldn't I just use that to get started? So this was that kind of click that monthly I'm putting money away somewhere. It's not efficient. It's not doing multiple jobs. And he was able to redirect that into policies on his twin daughters that now, again, started that whole process and is doing the same thing. It's still creating that warehouse for all those maintenance issues that are going to happen, those inevitable things, but it's getting his daughter started on the path again 20 years earlier.
But here's the thing: the beauty is that it can happen differently, right? No, I don't know where you are in this phase. I don't know if you need to be more like Jamie and set this up on a monthly basis, because you're just looking at your income minus your expenses. This is the cash flow I have. Maybe you've done what Joey walked through personally with himself, and he was able to say, well, I had money going to my 401k, I have money going to this debt reduction, and understanding how that's not necessarily getting me closer to financial freedom. Those are dollars. Or maybe you're like Mark, where you have an annual amount of money. Maybe it's a sum of money that comes every year, and you're like, man, I want to be able to do that, because if I do that, then I can get immediate access. But maybe you're like this person. This is a friend of mine, Jeremy, and he loved investing in the mobile home park world. And he came to me and said, Russ, I've actually got a lump sum of money. I've been just stacking cash for a while now. And normally I just pay cash for my investments, but I want to apply this concept. I see how this can be the fast pass for me, but how would I take a lump sum of money, right? How would I take that and get it into this all at once? There is a way to do that, right? Because when you design these, you work with one of our coaches. These coaches can actually help you design a system where you can take a lump sum of money, whether that lump sum's a small amount or a humongous amount, and build a process like Jeremy did here, where he literally put a lump sum of money in. Then he had the ability to take that and go buy his next mobile home park. So Joey, the beauty of this is not a one size fits all. When you're designing it, you can design it annually, monthly, or in lump sums.
That's right. So we've identified where our cash is flowing, how it's all kind of separated out, and how to bring that into one place. That begs the question of, how do I design this for myself? Who do I insure? And what vehicle in which we do that? And then the last thing is, how do we integrate this into our lifestyle? And I think that really comes down to the people that we hear from every day who have done this themselves. Better, you've already heard Russ and I's story and how this has led to our passive income goals and objectives, but it really comes down to the people that we know. So for instance, a friend of mine, Mike, this was probably 6 years ago that he learned of this concept. He's a firefighter and he is a real estate investor. And the concept of taking his cash, putting it in a location, at the time, he had the same problem I did. He was trying to pay off debts like his house. And he started to realize, wait a minute, that is keeping me from expanding my real estate portfolio and being able to utilize this system. So over those last, I think it's 5 or 6 years now, he's been able to redirect that into his own system. And it has now led him into multifamily deals that are creating cash flows that are giving him the ability to where he no longer has to be a firefighter. He enjoys it, and he enjoys being able to do that as a service to his community and others. But this process has given him the freedom to do both and to do it in a much more efficient manner.
But, I wish you could hear, and hopefully you'll get a chance to soon. I had a chance to sit down with a couple, and Chris and Carol, and they were just telling me about the last 12 years. They started doing infinite banking in 2010. They were probably the person 3 or 4 behind Joey that I went and shared that book with. And I like Joey, I charged them $20 and they give me grief to this day. I actually mailed them the book and I mailed them an invoice. Like where Joey, I just put my hand out and said, give me $20. I mailed them the book and I gave them an invoice and they were like, what? And they didn't have anything to gain from it like Joey did. Like Joey had the incentive of maybe getting a referral to his mortgage company. He was a dentist and she was an attorney at the time. And I sent them this book. I got a chance to sit down with them the other day and they said, since 2010, when we first started implementing this, not initially, we didn't understand all the things, but we just knew we needed a foundation. But they kept coming back to the word foundation. They kept saying, this is the thing that really has integrated our business life, our investment life, our personal life all together. Over the last 12 years, they've been doing personal lending. They used it to expand and to build a new commercial building that he runs his dental practice out of. They've used it as a source funding for private lending, for multifamily lending, for venture capital lending, but you name it, they have invested and created streams of income. But also the beauty of this, and this comes in that, when you're working with somebody who can help you prepare for these things, they've been selling off assets over the time. And because they've been using their system, and I talked about this briefly and we didn't really go into detail, but when they'd taken loans against these insurance contracts, they had a place when they sold these assets to take those big chunks of money and put it right back in it. And it gave them what his wife Carol said, peace of mind. What he said was confidence. Like this is the one thing that they would constantly point to as the foundational tool for everything that they've done for him to become financially free. He's 50 years old now. And he literally says, I work 3 days a week in my dental practice and it's only because I want to. He said, I really just enjoy it now because I don't have the need. I don't have to go to work because of what we set up. And none of that would have been possible if I wouldn't have integrated this system. So we've talked about a lot, Joey. I know I want to like land the plane here. I want to tell people kind of if you haven't taken action on this process, for us, the easiest thing we could do is point you to the course that we built called IBC 101. It's really the how behind what we've been sharing. Like we've been sharing with you why this is important. We've kind of touched on some of the big high arching pictures, but if you want to dive deep, you want to get your, like you're one of those that want to see underneath the hood of how all this works. Like we did that. We've built this course. And as you can see on the left side, it has a ton of different things. We have, over 800 members, and I'm sure that number is outdated since we've done this because people are constantly buying this course. They're constantly going through it. It is the thing before they take action that they typically want to do. And the retail price for this is right at $500. But, again, we'd feel remiss if you've gone through all of this with us and you're like, do I have to pay retail? And Joey, I don't like anybody paying retail. So I want to give a bonus here. I want to say, not only if you buy this with us today, but we're going to give you Infinite Banking 101, but also give you Infinite Banking 201. And what do they get in Infinite Banking 201?
Well, I mean, this is where you really start to apply into the various different ways, like for instance, buying real estate and how you can use this process to do that and to enhance the returns on really, whether just fill in the blank. If it's real estate, if it's anything that you want to invest in, this is going to show you how enhancing those returns, how to create your family banking system. That's where we go deep into the various different ways people have been able to do that. And then finally, as you mentioned with the Harpers, having real confidence in the windfalls of life, like knowing what to do with them and how to prepare for them and to take advantage of time on your side versus against you. Because we all know that compound interest is the most powerful thing if you have time on your side. So these things combined, you're going to get lifetime access to all the videos, not only today, but all the ones that we continually add to both of these courses. And they, as you can imagine, they consistently expand over time. We're going to give you a PDF of Becoming Your Own Banker. So you have that to access. You're going to enhance everything you buy, as we mentioned, talk about leaving your legacy with your family banking system, simplifying financial decisions. If we go back to passive income greater than monthly expenses, and you couple that with infinite banking, you're able to continually hold everything up against that and make everything super simple. And then you're going to get access to a coach to have specific 45 minutes to go through and design your system to exactly whichever way makes sense for you. We've already outlined how people have done it in the past, and that's just a matter of now taking that information and applying it to you. So, but are they going to have to pay like $1,000 for this, Russ? Like, I don't know if
Well,
that's
you
that's
can.
cool.
My wife would appreciate it if you did, right? There's a lot of fun things that, that she would enjoy buying on Amazon if you paid full price. But no, we broke this down. We want to give you access to it today at $149.99. So for barely 10% of what the total is, we want you to be able to take action. So there's two ways you can do that. First, depending on your membership, like if you're already a member of our community, right, then you can just click this link right here and you can purchase the course at $149. That way you don't have to pay the $1,000 to get into both of those. If you're watching this for the first time and you're not a member of our community, you're not one of the 5,000 members that are listening on a weekly basis to the podcast and then coming into the community to get support and interaction with others, this will not only give you access into the community itself, but also then will unlock that course for you for that price. So Joey, I know that there's a lot that we've given here today, and the point to this is, you gotta know that the biggest obstacle to becoming financially free is what?
Access to cash.
You get access to cash when you understand what's happening. You'll know what to do. This process of infinite banking is a process. Yes, there's a tool behind it called whole life insurance. To be honest, the process is way more important than the product itself. We ultimately want to have the tool that will do two things at one time. And we didn't do a good job maybe explaining that today, but the goal behind these concepts and these contracts that we use is that our cash can be growing and that's a key word, and our money can be at work. So we can have money at work while we either choose to or not choose to have ourselves at work with it. So we thank you so much for taking action. By just watching this, you've done more than 99.99% of the people are willing to do. But now I would encourage you with one last thing. And I heard this the other day, and I love to share it because I think it's so appropriate, and it's so appropriate right here. Have you ever heard of the rule 40-70? The rule of 40-70, and it was Colin Powell had this rule, and he talked about it a lot. And he had written about it in a book of his, and it was this: is that he said he needed at least 40% of the information in order to make a decision. Without 40% of the information, didn't feel confident that he could take appropriate action. He said, but he only needed up to 70%. He said if he waited past 70%, the opportunity usually had passed him up. And so I'm going to challenge you right now. If you don't feel like you have 40% of the information, then you need to take action, right? But the only way to take action is to get some more information. But maybe you're one of those that this isn't the first time you've listened to us talk about this infinite banking process. Maybe you're one of the people that just need to jump on a call, and you can go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/free call to do that. And you just need to get one of these coaches to help you integrate this into your process. So no matter where you are, I want you to know that life is full of taking imperfect action. And that's what I love about Colin Powell's 40-70 rule. So with that, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for taking action and being here today. All right. We got 4 minutes, Gabe, before Joey and I have to jump on a podcast. So I said for everybody that came, they were going to get something for free, right? Regardless if thank you for watching this, by the way. This is a recording, something we're gonna share with the world. I know many of you have heard of a lot of the things that we talked about. If you're hearing it for the first time, we're grateful that you got to be a part of this live imperfect action that we just took. But
never said better.
clearly there's some stuff we need to improve in our presentation here. But because you were live, I want to give you something, and I'm not going to charge you $20 for it, Richard. I want to give you that PDF to the Nelson Nash book, Becoming Your Own Banker. It is something that I encourage you to buy the hard copy and read and reread and reread. But sometimes having a PDF version is just as good right now. So Gabe, is there a way that you can throw that link in the chat for them, give them access to that somehow for me?
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
Okay, perfect. So I hope you'll enjoy that. Please don't just go share that with the world. And Nelson Nash and the Institute make money, obviously, selling books, and we support them in this. We don't make money in selling of books, but we love pointing people to purchase their book so that you can take notes in it and hopefully share it and pass it with somebody else. Joey and I just got back from a conference where people from all over North America were at. And the theme was going back to the basics, looking through just the many nuggets that comes from reading that book, and just reading it once is not enough, because there's more things that you'll learn. The more you see, that you don't see. And so I hope that's helpful. Gabe, thank you for sharing the PDF with the group. Do you have a place for it to go?
Yeah, it's not letting me share it in the chat, so I'm about to share my screen. And it'll have it on there.
Okay.
And we had a couple other questions, Russ.
Yes, the 149 is for both IBC 101 and IBC 102 or 201.
So this QR code here will open up the PDF for them.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Your QR code looks so much better than ours. Looks so much prettier.
You should scan it. It even has a little Wealth Without Wall Street loading screen.
Hey, Gabe, Drew mentioned that the IBC 101 and the 201, maybe that link we shared didn't give both. Gabe, would you make sure that if anybody signs up for IBC 101 over the next week, that you just send them a free link to 201?
Yep.
And if you go in our community, once you're in there, you hit at Gabe Lovvorn, Lovvorn, and you can just send him a DM real quick that says, "Hey, I just bought the course," and he'll send you a free link to 201. Yep. Sorry, that's on us. Joey and I put the wrong QR code in there. I told you we had some things we had to fix, but
Raquel and Robert, I see that y'all bought the President's Day sale. I think y'all still get access to the 201. I can share that with you.
Please go in there and give that to them. That'd be great.
And also, can you put the links in the chat here, Gabe, for the 101, 149, because I think somebody was having trouble with maybe scanning the QR code. Cam mention that.
Hold on one sec.
Throw that in there. And as far as Charlie, I don't know an IBC calculator. I'm not certain.
No, he's talking about the calculator for retirement.
Oh, okay. The retirement calculator is just right there in the community.
Yeah. And Gabe, you can just demonstrate where that is inside the community as well.
Yep. Hold on. Let me find those links.
All right. Well, Gabe, if it's okay, I'm gonna let you finish up and make sure everybody gets the links and the PDF. Do you have questions? Gabe is our community manager. He does a wonderful job. You probably met him or been introduced to him as you joined the community. Joey and I are about to do a podcast, so we got to jump onto that right now. But we appreciate you for all that you do, and thank you for supporting us and for coming here live. It was a pleasure to talk to you today. So I'm gonna jump over to the thing, Joey.
All right. Thanks, guys.
So I just sent the link if you're a community member, and I'm sending the link if you are not already a community member in now.